Coming up on the Paper Talk today, I don't know what we're going to talk about, to be honest with you. There's not much to mention, is there? Nothing's really happened. The papers aren't really talking about much. I don't know what we could talk about. Oh, I know what we could talk about. Manchester United beating Manchester City in a Manchester derby. Let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and it is an absolutely beautiful morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping because Manchester United have won the Manchester derby, and all the news this morning focuses on that epic victory. Yes, City are rubbish. We know that. We're going to get into all that in a minute, but United did what they need to do. Ruben Amorim made the big calls and there were some colossal performances from certain Manchester United players. I could talk about Amad Diallo all day long and I'm tempted to. We spoke about him a lot in the post-match review, in the post-match analysis show with Joe, and me and Steve had a chat about him as well, amongst other things, when we did Steve's review. So I'm not going to go too much on Amad Diallo. Forgive me, because I know you're probably thinking, come on Jay, let's talk about him a bit more. He's mint, we're lucky we've got him. That's all I'm going to say on the boy wonder. But there's a few other things I want to talk about as well. Other players that you can almost not forget about, but just sort of slips under the radar, their performances in that derby yesterday. Harry Maguire. Let's talk about Harry Maguire. And people go, what are you talking about Harry Maguire for? But listen, this guy's had a lot of stick over the last couple of years in particular. He's been trolled mercilessly on social media. He's been booed by, I think, certain United fans have given him stick. England fans were booing him. I don't get that one because he's always turned up for England. But he's had almost as much stick as anyone. And he's come through it. It would have been a time where you thought he would have left, that maybe he should have left, or that was the thinking at the time. Wasn't getting in the team, wasn't really fancied. What's the point in him sticking around? He lost the captaincy, of course. To lose the captaincy at Manchester United, well, you've not really done anything wrong. It's not like there was a disciplinary issue and he had it took off him. It can't be easy. But he's pulled his socks up and he's got on with it. And his performance at the Etihad yesterday was first class. It really was. I think he had 100% of his tackles were successful. I mean, you saw how effective he was, and it wasn't just the tackles and the interceptions and the clearances as well. It was also his attitude in that game. I saw him, I think it was when Rasmus Højlund went down in the box. Well, I'm not going to say went down in the box. When he was fouled in the box by Ruben Diaz, Harry Maguire was straight over there when certain City players were trying to get involved with Rasmus Højlund, making sure he was all right, pushing him away, that kind of thing. I want to see that. I want to see that from one of the experienced players. It was one of my criticisms a few years ago when Liverpool beat us and it all kicked off with Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he was kicking, was it Joe Gomez or someone? I can't remember who it was. Or it might have been Curtis Jones. And all the Liverpool players got involved and none of the United players did. You saw Harry Maguire getting involved in that yesterday, and you want to see that. You want to let the City lot know we're not going to be bullied. And Harry Maguire, I think he deserves his flowers, he really does. He's part of a back three, which I think suits him better, suits him more. He was in a back three for England. I think he played a similar role for Leicester as well. And yeah, he's looking really good. Is he going to stay at Manchester United next season? We don't know. But if he keeps getting minutes, keeps playing well, then obviously the manager will want to keep him, and hopefully he'll want to stay as well, because we can use all the good centre-backs we can get, especially if we are going to play free at the back like we have been doing under Ruben Amorim. So well done to Harry Maguire. I mentioned Manuel Ugarte yesterday. He's another one who deserves praise. I think 95% pass completion rate. It's not just the tackling and the blocking and the interceptions that he does really well, which he did. It's not just the amount of ground he covers. Steve mentioned it in his review. He takes care of the ball. He looks after it. He doesn't give it away. That's essential when you've got a player in that midfield, because it's quite easy to stick a foot in, make a tackle and the ball just go to another City player. But he didn't do that. He'd get hold of the ball and he'd keep it. 95% possession is important, and he did very well yesterday, Manuel Ugarte, and he's looking like the player we wanted. He's looking like the player you saw at Sporting. He did okay at PSG, but he wasn't that great, otherwise he wouldn't have been willing to sell him. But at Sporting is when he first sort of came to the front and everyone was like, there's a player there. And I think we're seeing the player in Manuel Ugarte that we hoped Sofian Amrabat would be. We saw it with Sofian Amrabat in the cup final, I've got to give him a mention there, but overall it didn't quite work out for him. Manuel Ugarte so far has been very good indeed. There was a few questions, weren't there? A few people sort of after the first 10 minutes or whatever it was that he played going, oh, is he the player we thought it was going to be? Shut up. He is. He's doing really well. Long may it continue. Couple of other points as well. Pep Guardiola is having another normal one. He's blaming himself. He says it's because he's not good enough. When he was asked about the defeat, he says he's got to find a solution. He's the boss, he's the manager. Listen, he probably doesn't believe that he's not a good manager. I think that's safe to say, and he's not good enough. He's probably trying to deflect somewhat or just take a little bit of the blame, and I get that. It's not the worst management I've ever seen for a manager to say, look, I'm not good enough, I need to do better. I think, you can only throw your players under the bus so many times, but he's got to be fuming with that performance yesterday. I hope he is, because it's funny. But you can see those images at the end as well. It's been great, hasn't it? For memes and for images from players and from social media and some of the accounts. We've been posting a lot of them on our social media as well. But that picture of him and Amad Diallo shaking hands at the end is absolutely priceless. You see it all the time, don't you, Pep Guardiola, where at full-time whistle, he'll go over to the opposition player and he'll like start trying to coach him. Remember that time a few years back, I think was it Nathan Redmond, I think it was, when he was like coaching him, saying, oh, you don't need to keep wasting time, you don't need to keep doing this and all this other stuff. I found that really sort of distasteful, that, to be honest with you, as a rival manager, to go and start trying to coach one of the opposition players just because you're unhappy with the way the game's gone. But yesterday, he didn't have anything to say to Amad Diallo other than, well done, because Amad Diallo doesn't need coaching off Pep Guardiola or anyone. He knows what he's doing, and what he's doing is absolutely tearing City apart. It was great to see. We've seen other posts as well. Great post by Andre Onana, leaning on Bernardo Silva. I didn't even see that during the game. I thought at first he'd made it up, but obviously a real image. Yeah, another funny one, Rasmus Højlund. Let's talk about Rasmus Højlund's social media post. The picture of him and Kyle Walker going head-to-head just before Kyle Walker falls to the ground. Roy Keane, as you can imagine, had a lot to say about that. Now, Roy Keane isn't someone who's always pro-United and biased. He'll criticise United players, probably more than he criticises anyone, because he likes to see better standards at Manchester United. But he was very critical of Kyle Walker. He said he's don't know him, but I'm embarrassed for him. It was an embarrassment. And he was right, what Kyle Walker did there. I just did a little radio thing, and I was on with a City fan, and she said the same thing. She said, it was embarrassing. Even when City fans aren't even defending you, I think he's a City captain as well, then you've really done something wrong, because they'll defend anything, won't they? Literally. So yeah, just embarrassment all round from Manchester City, and just great stuff from Manchester United. Some great performances. Manuel Ugarte playing well. I can name quite a few players. Lisandro Martinez, I thought, was another one that had a very good game. But the man of the hour is obviously Amad Diallo. Players that weren't playing, and we'll talk about this before we wrap up as well. Marcus Rashford and Rashford Garnacho. That was the big story, wasn't it, ahead of kick-off yesterday. I remember getting a message sort of yesterday afternoon, or I think it was just sort of lunchtime, saying, looks like Garnacho and Rashford aren't in the squad. From someone I trust as well. I mean, I didn't post it, I never do the ITK stuff, but I was like, crikey, that's a big one. I thought it might be a discipline issue. Ruben Amorim has literally said it isn't a disciplinary issue. It isn't some of the rumours doing the rounds that they've been leaking the team news, which I find a bit weird anyway. It's like, they're both leaking the team news, so they've both been dropped from the squad. It's like, how's that work? Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, that. I don't know, get involved in the chat in the comments, you may disagree. But apparently it isn't a disciplinary issue. They weren't putting in the effort in training. And I've said this before, had United lost yesterday, this might sound insane, but bear with me, it still would have been the right call to drop Garnacho and Rashford. You have to, almost for the greater good, send a message and let players know, if you don't do what I want you to do, if you don't perform in training, if you don't maintain the standards that I want to bring into this football club, you ain't going to play for Manchester United. You ain't even going to be on the bench for Manchester United. We are not going to get anywhere as a football club if we just have more of the same. More of the same is what's had us finishing behind City every season post Sir Alex Ferguson. It's not good enough. Yeah, we can't just say, oh, well, there are the good players, the players that score goals, the dangerous players. Let's just allow them to not turn up in training. No. If you don't perform, if you don't do what this manager wants, you're out. And I like that. And if you do perform, you'll get a chance. Certain players who you thought the United career might be over, Anthony, even Maguire to a certain degree, Mason Mount, I know he had to go off injured. You thought they might be done. The manager's giving him an opportunity. So obviously they're turning up in training. You turn up in training, you try your hardest, you do your best, you will get opportunities under this manager. And I like it. He's using this season as almost a pre-season, and yet he's still managing to get some phenomenal results, like that 2-1 win at the Etihad, thanks to Amad Diallo. Love to see it. Great stuff. Going to be back later on. Going to have the Paddock podcast, me, Joe, Ronaldo Brown. If you've not done so already, go and check out all the post-match reaction. Got the analysis show with me and Joseph. You've got the show, the chat with Steve as well, with his review. Plus, you've got the initial post-match review, as well. My word, I'm getting tongue-tied here. I'm just so giddy. Honestly, it's been a little while since I felt like this. Probably not since the FA Cup final, but it's good to see it. Ruben Amorim, he's played Pep Guardiola twice in, about 6 weeks, and he's beaten him twice. He's got his number. I'm going to leave it there. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. I've been Jay Motti, outside a wonderful Old Trafford. Thanks for watching.